Welcome to the last push Wednesday evening, October 28th edition of studentloanjustice.org. My name is Alan Collins. I'm the founder of Student Loan Justice. We've been around for 15 years now. We've been featured on 60 Minutes and the New York Times and Los Angeles Times and NPR and PBS and Vice News and Fox News, Rolling Stone magazine, and you name it. We've probably been on it. For the first 15 years of our existence, we were fighting very moderately for only the return of bankruptcy protections to student loans. But folks, I'm here to tell you that this lending system is now catastrophically failed. Put a fork in it, it's done. So as of last March 13th, we are now calling for the cancellation of all the loans that the president can cancel by executive order, and that's about 85% of all student loans, and the return of bankruptcy protections to the loans that will remain. So if you're new to the group, welcome. We're glad that you found us. What took you so long? We are literally the only true group in the country, true grassroots group, certainly, fighting for student loan justice. You know, we're seeing a lot about student loan cancellation out in the zeitgeist right now, on the presidential campaign trail, in Congress, and in stimulus talks, and etc. And I am here to tell you that all of the loan cancellation plans that we are hearing about are bogus. They're bogus with a capital B. Every other loan cancellation program proposal, except for ours, requires Congress to pass a law that raises money to pay for loan cancellation, right? Listen to Joe Biden. He goes, yeah, I'm going to cancel student loans for this group and that group and cancel this and cancel that. And I'm going to pay for it by ... by repealing the capital gains tax, or in the case of Bernie Sanders, a Wall Street stock transaction tax, or in the case of Elizabeth Warren, I think she was doing a wealth tax. Because all of those loan cancellation plans require raising $1 for every dollar in loans that you cancel. So folks, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. We've been doing this for 15 years now. And we know what Congress will do, and we know what Congress will not do. And we know that even raising even a couple $1 billion in tax money for Congress, that's a very big thing. To say that Congress will raise hundreds of billions of dollars for the purposes of canceling student loans is a pipe dream. It is not going to happen. Now, even if that did happen, even if the sun and the moon aligned, the stars aligned, whatever, and if Congress raised $1 trillion, $2 trillion in order to cancel student loans, the Department of Education would be sitting there, and there would be strings attached, by the way. Like, look at all the stuff that we heard from Biden, and even Elizabeth Warren's plan, all kinds of strings attached. Bernie's plan did not have strings attached, which was nice, but folks, it doesn't matter. Anytime the Department of Education is put in charge of canceling loans, one thing happens. No loans get canceled. So actually, one thing doesn't happen, and that is loans getting canceled. That is the way the Department of Education rolls. You know, they are actually being sued left and right for not canceling hundreds of thousands of loans for students who went to colleges that lied to them, students who were defrauded. The most recent article I saw, and this is a years-long soap opera in the student loan universe, but the last little back and forth on that particular issue, the judge was saying that the Department of Education is acting in a Kafka-esque way, meaning cruel and masochistic. And I don't think Kafkaesque actually quite describes the cruelty, the wanton malice with which the Department of Education does not cancel loans. They find every reason not to. Public service loan forgiveness, same thing. 99% of all people who were trying for the public service loan forgiveness are finding out, no, you didn't dot your I, you didn't cross this T, you didn't fill out this form, you're not getting the loan forgiveness. So, yeah, folks, getting back to my original point, Congress cannot and will not cancel loans. And even if they try to, it won't happen even still because the Department of Education. So, all the loan cancellation plans we're hearing about are nonsense, folks. Nonsense. Campaign fodder designed to lure unsuspecting voters, I would say. But the good news and why we are important, this group right here that you're looking at, is that the president can indeed cancel loans. The president could cancel 85% of all student loans. So all federally owned student loans, the president, not Congress, the president can cancel by executive order. He could do it tonight. He could do it right now. And maybe the most beautiful thing about this is that the president could do this without needing one dime of money from Congress. So in other words, these loans don't need to be paid for. And think about it. These are federally owned loans. The federal government, the taxpayers, already paid for these loans many years ago. And they didn't pay much, by the way. Of the $1.5 trillion outstanding, my guess is that probably $400 billion maybe, or even less, is actual unpaid principal. In other words, that's actually money that the government paid out and didn't get back through interest payments and other payments. So, yeah, folks, loan cancellation is completely doable, but not by anything you're hearing from anyone on the campaign. It's too bad. We were able to endorse both Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, but not because of their loan cancellation plans, but because they unequivocally and unambiguously stated that they would fight to return bankruptcy protections to student loans. Elizabeth Warren pledged that she would make this happen by executive order, which, again, the president can do. And by the way, folks, if you have any questions or comments, throw them out. We're very happy to respond to them in situ, and that's far funner for me than being a talking head up here. If you're on YouTube, sorry. I know that's where most of our viewers are, and you're watching this after the fact, so sorry about that. If you are on YouTube, then if you want to see our live streams, then come to our Facebook group. So that's just facebook.com/groups/SLJ group. So here we are, folks. We are on the eve of the election almost. Today was our very last push on both of the presidential candidates. By this time tomorrow, way over half of the people who are going to vote will have voted. And I just don't see any point in pushing them past tomorrow, like into the weekend, because we gave them every chance. And to our credit, by the way, I should say, you all out there should be really thrilled with all that we got done. Since we moved to Iowa last spring, the spring before last, so spring 2019, we were able to get Elizabeth Warren to, number one, include bankruptcy protections into her plan, which she did not originally, and it was because of us and the strength of an article that was written in which we were interviewed by Maureen Takasik, that they included bankruptcy at all, the Elizabeth Warren people. Also, we are the reason, the only and absolutely only reason that Elizabeth Warren pledged that as president and on day one, she would return bankruptcy protections to student loans by executive order. So that's really cool. But the biggest thing we were able to get done this election season is, since way before the pandemic, since over a year ago, we've been calling not for these nonsense loan cancellation proposals like we're hearing about, but rather for what I just said, loan cancellation by executive order that requires no tax money and adds nothing to the national debt. And for the first 8, 9, 10 months since last August, we were the voice in the wilderness. We were the only group around even talking about that. Well, I'm very glad to inform you, to report that as of about 1 month ago, leading members of the Senate have, I don't want to say stolen, but let's just say appropriated our concept. So Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer introduced a bill in the Senate calling on the president to cancel loans by executive order. So good on us. You know, this group is actually incredibly important in the thought leadership over this issue. We may not seem like it, but indeed, you heard it here first. And we've had a dramatic impact on this campaign up to this point. And, you know, who knows? The final point that we made as this campaign is coming to a close is almost done. And again, you heard this here first, is that no matter what you might see on TV with the polls, with the big crowds, etc., I'm sorry, but Donald Trump cannot win this election unless he cancels federally owned student loans by executive order. Now, I know a lot of you may disagree with me, and this is all politics aside, folks. It really is. We are a nonpartisan group. We could not endorse either of the major party candidates this time around. We could only endorse, at least up to this point, Howie Hawkins of the Green Party, because Biden's plan sucks for student loans, but Trump has no plan. So 4 years ago, Hillary had essentially nothing. Donald Trump had nothing. And we saw how that turned out. But this time around, and you know, we didn't have anybody to vote for. But we, as a voting bloc, are the largest voter bonanza in the in modern U.S. history for sure. Maybe all American history. Because as I said, 4 years ago, we had nothing. Not Trump, not Hillary. Well, we had the Green Party, I suppose. But this time around, Joe Biden has a meaningful plan for people with existing student loan debt, which Hillary didn't even go there last time. Now, I'm not even going to go over the bullet points of Biden's plan. You've probably read it or read something about it. I will say that it sucks, and it's completely not trustworthy and unbelievable. And I will make a very strong point in saying that the Biden campaign very deliberately did not make the same pledge that Elizabeth Warren made to return bankruptcy protection to student loans by executive order. So they're not getting our endorsement. But folks, it really doesn't matter because most people are not you and me, and most people do not know how to read between the lines and how to discern a campaign pledge from the truth, which in the case of Joe Biden is a very wide chasm. So even by just mouthing the words student loan cancellation and bankruptcy, which Biden has done, and if you look at his website, it really seems like he wants to cancel a whole ton of student loans and that he really wants to return bankruptcy to student loans. Now, it's just not true. And I wrote an article about it, and I could maybe go into that deeper if anybody's interested. But suffice it to say, Biden's plan sucks. But just by him mouthing those words and making it kind of sound good and look good, and also, I should say, being aided by, I'd say, a less than honest media that is going overboard to misreport and massively oversell Biden's student loan plan, he's going to get most of the people who are distressed on their student loans are going to vote for Biden now. And as I said, this is the biggest untapped voter bonanza in the recent history of this country. There are 55 million people in the country who either have student loans or are co-signed on them. 55 million. Before the pandemic, like as of like March, early March, late February, I have it straight from the former head of the lending program, the federal lending program, that 80% of all student loan borrowers were not going to be able to repay their loans. They were either in default, they were in forbearance, delinquent, otherwise unable to pay, and that's like 63 or more percent, 65% probably. And another 15% to make up the 80% were able to pay and were paying, but their balance was going up, not down. So that's 4 out of 5 of those 55 million voters in the country
who are losing sleep over their loans. That's 44 million desperate, vulnerable borrowers, 44 million desperate borrowers who would cling to almost anything you put out there. And so right now, Biden has the very strong, very clear advantage over this group of 44, if not more, million people. So given that, folks, I don't see how Donald Trump can win. And, this may not ever even come out in any poll either, because a lot of people don't even tell their husbands, wives, significant others about their student loan problems, much less tell a pollster. And also, pollsters almost never ask the question about student loans. And so this may never even pop up on any public poll or anything. But I just told you what the numbers are, folks. And I just laid out those facts. And I think that's kind of just math at this point. Now, the only thing that could prevent Biden from winning this, the only way that I could possibly be wrong, in other words, is if people just don't believe Biden. And they don't believe him so much, they're like, you know what? Screw this guy. I'm either not going to vote or I'm going to vote for Trump because I just don't believe that. But I don't think Biden is that unbelievable. I would have a very hard time imagining that most of the 44 million voters out there with student loans and who are losing sleep over those loans will not vote for Biden because they don't believe him. So, and you may disagree, but I would be stunned if Donald Trump did nothing between now and the election and still managed to pull it out. And by the way, folks, I'm just going to say I think it's probably might even be too late for Trump to do anything dramatic. In my opinion, the only thing that I can think of that Trump could do to pull this election out at this late date, and he would literally have to do it like tonight or maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday at the very latest, but even then it's probably too late, is Donald Trump would actually have to actually cancel the loans. And on that note, again, folks, I should tell you that this group is very important. We have been having ongoing conversations through a mediary with the highest levels of the Trump campaign. And I happen to know and can report, without divulging too much information, that the Trump campaign was considering our proposal for student loan cancellation by executive order very seriously as far back as 5 weeks ago, I believe. And I'm also very happy to report that the Biden people also know at the very highest levels, including his campaign manager. And on this, I'll go ahead and just mention a name, Greg Schultz. Greg Schultz knows very well that the minimum threshold for us to endorse Joe Biden what would have been that Joe Biden did what Elizabeth Warren did and pledge to return bankruptcy protections to student loans by executive order. In other words, Joe Biden would have joined Elizabeth Warren in making the pledge that as president and on day one, he would order the Department of Education and its contractors to stop opposing bankruptcy filers on student loans in bankruptcy court. So Elizabeth Warren made the pledge, but the Bernie people very deliberately and very obviously, to my way of thinking, did not. So, things could change between now and Tuesday, folks. They could. I'm not saying they couldn't. We may be able to rush through a 11th hour endorsement of either Joe Biden or, who knows, maybe even President Trump. But neither of them have earned our endorsement up to this point. So being in town, I'm going to keep this kind of short tonight, folks. I'm going to keep this under 22 or 3 minutes, hopefully. So yeah, folks, we kicked ass this election season. We would be light years behind where we are now if this group, me and you and everybody, I'm sure tens of thousands of people that volunteered for us and helped us do our daily blitzes and our daily pushes, we would be light years behind where we are today. So, to those of you who actually helped over the past year on this campaign, thank you. And those of you who didn't, what were you doing? What were you doing? Why did you do nothing? Shame on you. These are your loans. This is your problem. Frankly, you make me sick. A lot of people have done a lot of work to get us where we are here today. And if you're not helping, you really don't even need to be here. You should just leave or something. Because we don't want you waiting and watching and worrying and expecting somebody else to pull your weight for you. And if you want to atone, here is the very last thing that we're asking people to do in this presidential campaign. And you can see it above or off to the side or maybe below as a part of this live stream here tonight. We're doing one last tweet to both President Trump and Joe Biden. So if you look at the text that goes along with this live stream, you can see what we're asking everybody to do. We're asking you to tweet Joe. It's very simple. Tweet Joe Biden, tweet Donald Trump, and the second thing, and tell them, in the case of Donald Trump, tell him to cancel all federally owned student loans by executive order. In the case of Joe Biden, tell him that at a minimum, he's got to pledge to return bankruptcy protections to student loans by executive order. Do that. Help us make this last push a big one. Because remember, these are your loans and these are your problems. And only when you get off your ass is the problem going to get solved. Now, the second thing that we're asking everybody to do today and tonight is to contact, and again, we give you explicit instructions right around here somewhere. Contact your local media, and you can look at the media list and you can see media that is local to you, email addresses. Send them an email tonight while you're thinking about it and tell them to report on our petition at change.org/cancel student loans. We're hoping to get up to 1 million signatures on this petition by Election Day. And I think we can probably still do that, actually. We were featured in Newsday yesterday. And over the past month or so, we've been featured on Fox News and Newsweek and Fox Business and Yahoo News and Heavy.com and dozens of local television stations. But we're asking you to send emails to more local news stations in your area. Tell them to report on our petition and maybe even offer your own self up to be interviewed. Maybe you want to be interviewed, maybe you don't. Whatever you want, that's fine. Whatever you're comfortable with. We can do all the heavy lifting, by the way. You can give them my email address, or you can give them our website, or just point them to the change.org petition, and those news organizations can find us pretty easily. Give them my email address if you want. It's just justice@studentloanjustice.org. Whatever. Just tell them to report on the petition and make that happen, because this problem is only going to get solved when you sitting there actually help us fight. So let's do this, guys. This is the last push. We obviously are going to be continuing to feverishly work behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, wherever we can through the election. But this is the last meaningful day that we have to push the candidates to do something that will gain our endorsement, really. I mean, probably by Friday, 80% of the people will have voted. And so at that point, it's kind of like too late. So, but the last thing I will say is, and I've been putting this off, but please make a donation, folks. If you appreciate all the work that we have done over the years, over the past 15 going on 16 years, then please make a donation and help us literally to keep the lights on. We survive 100% on donations, personal gifts from normal people like you. And certainly during this pandemic, it has become very, very hard for us to literally even keep the lights on. We don't have a massive budget. We don't spend much money at all. We don't need much money to fight and win this battle, but we cannot do it on nothing. At this point, about $2,000 a month is absolutely what we have to not disappear. And so please make a donation, folks. It is getting quite skinny on this end. So I don't want to say anything more than that because I just hate fundraising. But please make it easier on us. If you appreciate what we are doing here, please donate. You can go to studentloanjustice.org/support and make that happen. Yeah. Okay, folks. Well, that's great. Seeing no comments, I will leave it there at that for now. Happy Wednesday. Keep checking back on a daily basis. We are going to be still doing stuff, and quite frankly, after the election, whichever way it turns out, is going to be a massive push for us. We're going to have a little breathing room, certainly with the media, and if this thing goes the way it looks like it's going to go, we may very well have neither candidate to really get behind. In other words, we may be out on our own in the cold with no realistic chance of having support from either party, either candidate. And in that case, we've really got to buckle down and buck this system and get this catastrophically failed lending system gone once and for all. So keep that in mind. Do that thing. Donate if you can. Good luck. Godspeed. God bless everybody.